So, well, we're up here in Sturgeon Bay with Michael Doerr and at his shop, and this is a nice shop. And you do classes up here?
I do.
And part of why I'm up here is we're going to take a look at the beginnings of some of his sculpted chairs, and I'm going to be back here in the spring to actually learn how to do some of this stuff. So we'll give you a little taste now. We got some other stuff coming up, talking about design ideas with other people, and I actually get to learn how to do this from Michael.
You will.
So.
Yeah. And actually, we'll be building what's known as the new #1 chair.
New #1.
Which
Okay.
I believe is the second one down on my website in the comprehensive collection. There's a true evolution of what I do here. Started out as a wooden chip builder, taught furniture design, construction to myself
Okay.
by going to seminars and looking at a lot of books. A lot of books that you can see over there.
Yep.
Yeah, and then as I was mentioning to you earlier in the other room, and we'll go look at this, that as I started building chairs, I realized that if I kept them in a black form, that it was much easier to do the joinery, and doing all the joinery, fitting the legs into the sockets of the seats, which we'll actually demonstrate in a little bit here. And so by doing it that way, I found it was easier to, once I had what I refer to as a cube of the chair, where these are all still fairly straight and solid pieces of wood, I could draw right on the piece of wood and then remove that piece.
And get your
cut it
design.
away, yeah.
The nice flowing stuff that we see here.
Right, and you know, tweak the design. You can always go, you don't need to start with walnut either. You can always go to the lumberyard and buy just 2x4s.
Sure. Yeah.
2x4s, 2x6s,
and style it and some of it.
Yeah, and mock it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually got other stools and other pieces that I have the original lumberyard fir, whatever what it was, pine fir, spruce.
So for your template or your prototypes.
Right, my prototypes, right.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I start, if I have a pretty solid idea, I start with real wood.
Yeah, I think I'd be scared to start with, I'd be scared to start with the prototype stuff sometimes.
That is, you can always roast chicken with it.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, but you can see that if you look at like straight down here, imagine that this was still the block of wood right here. It's all right in these different blocks.
Sure.
And to achieve something like this, it's done just with a bevel here and a bevel here, and then just straight back across and then come back up to get these slumps to the seat like this.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty, it's not simple, but once you do it enough, it flows pretty well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll take a little closer look at this than when we go in the other room too. There's some beautiful stuff, and let me tell you, they're comfortable.
Well, that's the primary function. It's written in one of my PR pieces that the primary function of a chair is comfort.
Okay.
And after that, you can do anything you want with the curves.
That's great.
Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead.
So this looks, roughly represents what the front leg would look like before it's actually cut out and joined into the sockets on the chair seat. So you can kind of see how that fits right under that block of wood. And we'll actually, in a moment, we'll look at a stool in the other room, and then you'll be able to take apart some of the pieces. Earlier when we were sitting in the other room talking, we were discussing how I began doing this and keeping the chair and doing all the joinery before the individual pieces were made. So as I taught myself this, and these blocks, what I referred to as the cubes, come together, they're coming together basically in something like this. This form right here, where these are much larger pieces than, as you can see, the front leg. But as I slowly cut them away, as I build and design, this piece will come out of here, exposing the back of the leg, which gets drawings on it and cut away, but also this will come away from the front of the leg, exposing these two curves now. And this has not been cut yet, but this piece will come away from here too. Actually, let me just slide back here for a second, and you can see the template is right here. So any place that's dark right now will all come away from there. And what you end up with is a very small leg from these large blocks. The blocks are not truly wasted. I mean, this is not waste. I can easily get an arm out of this to conserve the use of lumber, or they'll be glued back together and making maybe the spreaders that will fit underneath the chair seat. That's what these notches represent right through here. That will be your footrest. Those are the notches to hold the footrest up, and the arm template will be set basically like this. That represents the arm, so you can see the curve of the arm coming up from the top. And the part of the purpose of the whole block system is so you get a continuous flow of line throughout the whole piece. As you can see, these are coming in here. You can see this is gone from here now, and this is coming and returning. So that would be, this piece would be gone. And the same is true down here. You can see this line continuing right around. So that's by removing these two pieces. And then I can put the arm basically up in here. And there's enough wood when I go to attach this that this line continues right through here, creating these wonderful silhouettes on the piece. Once again, this is a leg of this. Oops, that would be the wrong leg. Good thing you can edit. That's what that will look like eventually. And then that would be fitted into the leg, into the socket. When I talk about the socket, I'm talking about this piece right here in the front of the seat, which is represented right here. This cutaway right here, and the milling of the joint. So when I talk about the pieces fitting together, you can see that they just come back in. They fit together very snugly, and the same is true with this piece. It would just fit right in here, come together, and it gets the wood removed down into these areas. So it all, once again, becomes one piece, one continuous flow of line, which I find is very important in my design, to continue the line to run out through the whole piece and keep it moving around. So it looks like a whole chair or stool and not a compilation of parts. So you got to bring it all together somehow, and that's really done with the size of these blocks.
Sure, because then the piece is inside the block. It's just
right.
The joinery is done when it's in its block form. So then you
Right,
can
just
cut
think
it
of
away.
As like I'm making a piece of marble or the stone.
Yep.
Okay. It's just that it's already got a lot of air in it. But then I'm doing really just removing the wood that's not needed to make the stool or the chair. These are actually stools on their way to Texas.
Cool.
Yeah. 2 of them are actually headed for my house. Finished stool coming out of those blocks. Right here is one that was built, this would have been built about 3 years ago. And it's been in my house. I used it as a prototype, and it's been 2 different variations done on it. And this is the 3rd generation of basically the same design, just some small tweaks being done to it to satisfy what I think has to be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said the bottom of this one, the stretchers and the footrest is different than some of the other ones you've done.
Yeah, on a lot of the other stools, that there's actually, this is coming out this way, and then stretchers on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates like a box almost.
Mm-hmm.
But on this one I decided that if I just cut these away and move the stretcher between the front footrest and the back spreader, that it just kind of created a nice open silhouette here. Far more lighter looking and airier, not so grounded. Slumping of the seat is created with opposing 3-degree bevels at the joints right here. So this slowly drops down and comes back. This would be parallel to these. They all start out straight, but the bevels, by putting bevels in here, as I bring the pieces together, it drops and creates this slump.
Right, well, I'm happy to come and visit the shop, and I'll be visiting more because I'm going to end up making one of these.
Right.
And it'll be sometime in spring. But we have the idea of what goes on with some of these chairs and some of the beautiful stuff you do. And thanks for having me up, and
Sure.
we'll be here again.
Okay, and come spring we'll take you through the whole process and you can video it and show it to the world.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, looking forward to it.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again. Take it.
Thank you.